Hello. What's going on? What's up? Jasmine here, and I am going to talk about some stuff that has been on my mind that is relative to myself and maybe to other people. I like to talk about life experiences and kind of just create my own method of like how my own method and make sense of like certain things in my own way and just share it with other people. So that's what I'm here to do. And at some point, I guess I'll figure out a better summarization of what it is that I'm actually doing. But in this moment right here, I just feel like the best thing to do is to share my thoughts, my revelations, and my concepts because who knows, maybe someone else needs to hear it. And even if it only reaches a couple of people, at least I feel good that I was able to expound on it and express it and let it out and like create something with it and get something out of it. And through me doing that, I stay fulfilled. Um, yeah, that's kind of like where I want to start at. But this topic is important. I feel like everything's important, but this specific topic is important to me because I have been and probably still am going to be, not even probably, I'm sure that I'm going to be in this kind of thing and it's ongoing and I don't think it ever is going to stop. And this is just my own way of kind of like articulating what I think this actually is. Yeah. So I wrote like a lot of stuff down because I wanted to make sure that I was as concise and to keep me on track, you know. But anyway, so this is essentially, I don't know what I'm gonna call this video, but right now I'm just gonna say the title is the input and output method, the option of choosing genuine love before pursuing romance. Okay, so let's talk about it. Here's another thing. You may not want to hear anything I'm about to say if your mindset is kind of like still fixed on maybe like a certain kind of approach and maybe you haven't like completely, maybe you're not ready to like change in this way or like see things in the way that I'm saying it. So what I'm about to say might not even help you or be conducive conducive for you. It might not even be, you know, anyway. So the inspiration for this is kind of just how when we meet people in our lives, well, especially, you know, men and women, this is mainly like the biggest scenario, and we pursue them or try to pursue them in a romantic way. We try to pursue them in a romantic way because that's all we kind of ever really like have been primed to do through the influence of media and watching generations before us do that and whatever other influences in society, right? So like when we think of the opposite sex, our first thought is sex, lust, this lower nature, ego driven romance. I don't know, like just a whole bunch of things that kind of the end point is like either procreation, marriage. Nothing wrong with that, but through my experience now, I'm realizing that it's not as important to just be with somebody and like try to actually be in a relationship with them. Like the relationship that you're trying to be in with them does not necessarily have to be a romantic relationship, but we may want it to be a romantic relationship because of our own like personal desires, and stuff like that. But no one's perfect, and it's a normal thing to want that, even outside of if we were influenced and inspired through social media and like people around us. I think that we would still have like a natural desire to want to express ourselves with the opposite sex, and it be in a very like one-on-one, very intimate, highly passionate kind of relationship. But I think I'm at an age now to where I know that it doesn't really, if what I want is like something that is genuine, pure, intentional, loving, and all of the things that will help assist in a actual like one-on-one romantic relationship to be healthy and like freeing and authentic and all these other good things, then there is a stage that you have to go through in order for you to like get there. But at the same time, it may not be meant for like you and that person that you may like to actually like, you know, be together, having sex, be in a relationship and stuff like that. It may not be meant, you know? So this is why I'm going to kind of like talk about my own way of seeing things through my own experience and stuff like that. Okay? So this is how I look at it, right? People, we are born here and we are crossing paths with people all the time. But some of these people that we are crossing paths with, we are meant to kind of like either, it's not like the random stranger crossing paths with, you know, like background character crossing paths with like at the grocery store. I'm talking about people that are in these places like school, work, I don't know, family, whatever, however we're meeting these people in our frequent places, right? And we're crossing paths with them, and they are attracted to us or we're attracted to them in some way. In some way, they end up sticking around us or we end up sticking around them, and we end up kicking it, being cool, talking, resonating on some level. And, you know, that happens, right? It's meant to be. It feels meant to be. All right. So a lot of times, at least for me, I'll be like, you know what? This person reminds me of me. This person reminds me of me. This person reminds me of me. Like they making me feel like in one way or another, I'm like talking to myself or I'm engaging with myself. And you can say like, oh, well, technically we're all one and we're all connected and da 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 da, and like, so therefore it's technically you always talking to yourself or you're always meeting people that remind you of you. But no, there are certain people that I have come across and I'm like, you are a reflection of me, like for real, like either like a good reflection or a bad reflection. But here's the thing about crossing these paths is that it's not all fun and games like all the time. It's not always just like, oh yeah, we crossed paths and, you know, we went on about our merry way. Like a lot of times you'll cross paths with people that you feel like you really like them. You engaged with them. Y'all ended up in a romantic dynamic, and they might have turned out to be like what you feel like is one of your most number one enemies. That's the people that are in those abusive, toxic relationships, okay? That's not for no reason. Or you cross paths with people that actually make you feel very loved, and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, a lot of times, either way, this interfacing, this crossing path thing is to assist each other, or one person is assisting the other person only. The purpose of meeting is through guidance in personal growth and self-development, and guidance in personal growth and self-development for your life purpose or journey, and for you to create more harmony within yourself. That's why I say that sometimes you might cross paths with someone that you end up being engaged with for a long period of time, but like, you might not get the best experience, which you think is not the best experience out of them. But when you look back and you see the things that you have actually cultivated and learned through being in a relationship with them, you're supposed to end up coming out as a better person, a more refined person, a more enhanced version of yourself, because through that relationship with them, you should have picked up gems and keys and wisdom and etc. I know it sounds fucking boring, but these are the things that are supposed to help excel you. If you were in a dense and like toxic kind of relationship and stuff like that, sometimes it's a permanent or temporary kind of relationship. It's not always supposed to be forever and last a long time. Okay, these are the partnerships, the friendships, the lovers, and romantic soulmates, which I'm more so focusing on. This video is tailored more towards that department. So that is the purpose of meeting, for them to help you. However, we want it to be roses and daisies, but a lot of times it's not. Also, very important key here is one person may be more conscious than the other person. And this is very, very important in this dynamic. Okay? So one person may be more conscious of the purpose of their dynamic and what is conspiring than the other person is aware of it. So when one person in that dynamic can see that this person over here that I just befriended, or this person over here that I'm trying to date, seems to kind of lack or be a little deficient in some areas, like maybe emotional communication, emotional intelligence, communication, self-esteem, confidence, self-worth, all these things, right? Life experience, wisdom, etc. If the person that is more conscious is pursuing or trying to be in this dynamic with the person that is less conscious, then that means that that person kind of has a little bit more responsibility as the overseer of that relationship. So I'm not saying that the relationship and the purpose of the dynamic is the success falls on the more conscious one. But what I am saying is that if the conscious one kind of abuses or takes advantage of the fact that they know more than the other person, then they can kind of end up in a consequence thing to where they will receive like a certain amount of karma just from choosing to take advantage of someone that they knew was a little bit aloof or disassociated or like lower conscious wise, you know? What I'm talking about is for when people are aware that they are this person and that you are that person and that you have less like, you know, awareness within yourself. So they still take advantage of that. Now, for the person that's more aware, that doesn't mean that they're better. That just means like you're able to gauge and see things, you know, better and more coherent than like the person that is not aware of the fact that they might actually need a little bit more help in a certain arena or whatever. Along with the purpose of meeting, during this dynamic, what's really going on, what I like to call it, is a certain attunement, okay? And this is an attunement for either both people or maybe just one person. But usually I feel like two people are going to get something out of it. It's not always just this one-sided, like, yeah, this person is here to help this other person get from point A to point B in their conscious level or whatever. Usually both people should benefit, but one person I feel like might, depending on like how much they were lacking, they might kind of get like more propelled and like attuned a little bit more. You know, like there's a bigger difference being made for this person than the other person, you know. So within this attunement, it's just the assisting or the help in self-correcting, helping, refining, okay? And then the possible things to attune or, you know, kind of like show or reflect or inspire within that person could be self-love. Maybe someone kind of like struggles with actually liking themselves, loving themselves, and that can also be simultaneously and intertwined with self-worth. They might struggle with like having good self-esteem, healthy self-esteem, emotional intelligence or intelligence of any kind, the ability to understand how they are actually impacting other people or hurting other people, and they need attunement with better communication or past traumas. So this is just kind of like my list because I feel like these are things that I've noticed about either myself or like someone else that I've been cool with, dated, friend-wise, etc. And I'm realizing like a common theme here, like, okay, I see from like this and that maybe they might be this type of person or they might struggle with this type of stuff, right? So these are the things that might need attunement, but also there's other intricacies and complexities to like what someone might actually need help with, because past traumas is very broad. Like that could be some really, 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 really deep stuff. So you never know. Okay, it can get real dense out here. It can get real deep. It can get real, you know, dark. Here's the thing. Now, men and women like to, you know, go towards just loving each other, romance, whatever, you know, dating, pursue, court, fuck, whatever. And I think what keeps us in going towards that side versus like the genuine love and trying to actually get to know someone is either being infatuated with them, romanticizing them, or just being in this limerence kind of thing or fantasy. And this is this is like the less informed stage before you actually truly know who you're dealing with or whatever. Within you doing this, like romanticization and infatuation and stuff, you're creating a narrative or an idea of an individual that you'd like for that to play out within your life due to whatever reason. Like maybe you always wanted this or that type of person, or to experience this or that type of person, or even if it's not about that, it could just be like, oh, I need some you want some affection or attention, stimulation, or you might just be lusting after them. So these are reasons that kind of like inspire for people to go the opposite route of like genuinely trying to like figure out who it is that they're with or dealing with. I'm trying to make sure I'm saying this in a chronological way, as chronological as I feel like it should be. I guess like one thing I noticed about me is that the process from meeting someone to actually like dating or being in an actual like relationship with them was way too fast. But I'm speaking for myself. There was none of this like real dating like phase or genuine process that was intentional so I could really see who this person was, because I wasn't going to those depths within myself to begin with. And I think that I was a little not present, not even a little, like I was not present enough within myself. So why would I be present enough for this person? So I could only ever really get to know people as much as I attempted to get to know myself. So there was no real like healthy process of, okay, like let me spend more time around you. Let me, before I just decide like, oh yes, this is who I want, or this is who I like. Let me actually, there was none of that. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day as to my theory as to why the hell I was like that. So usually, but not all the time, there would be a theme of like some people that I'm interacting with, friendship wise, dating wise, they're showing me what I'm lacking in by how much disrespect I feel like I'm receiving, how much hurt I feel like I'm actually like receiving. Like, why do I feel like I'm getting the short end of the stick here? Or why do I feel like I'm not being considered in a certain way or whatever? And it's because I'm not holding myself up to that certain degree. So sometimes people inadvertently play this role without them trying to play this role. Okay, so for the person in the dynamic that is more aware of the person's aloofness, unawareness, the person that hasn't really cultivated a certain understanding of themselves or their purpose or their actual self-worth, and they're trying to take advantage of that. They know and they're trying to take advantage of it. And through doing that, it means like they're usually engaging in acts that are serving and fulfilling that person's personal pleasures. Like the person that's more aware, they're trying to get their personal pleasures fulfilled and served through sex from this other person, resources from this other person, or some type of stimulation to the ego, or ego stroke, or affection, or whatever. It's all kind of like based in, something that they also want out of it. Because why else would you stay there knowing that that person is not really on your level? So what that looks like a lot of times, I think, is when people are in relationships and they date someone and they know that they don't have the same amount of experience. And if not experience, they're dating someone and the person that they're trying to date does not have the same amount of like just awareness, or like they're not on like the same level as them. Like if they know like this person is not completely like off center, but it's going to take them a couple more tries or experiences for them to understand like certain things that is principles of life here. So that by you taking advantage of that, by the man taking advantage of the woman that knows less, or by the woman taking advantage of the man that knows less, you're going to also reap what you sow. Because why can't you tango with someone on your own level? Why not actually help this person with like developing and cultivating like better self-development in ways that don't drain you, or just leave them alone. Okay? Like when older men are trying to date like young ass girls, it's like, why would you do that? You know that she doesn't even know anything about life. Like she doesn't even have like a frontal lobe developed completely. Like why the hell are you, you know what I mean? It's like, why would you do that? Anyway, that's just an example. So yeah, for the people that are aware of their, I guess, higher advantage, or like conscious level being a little bit more higher in certain arenas, they're also going to kind of like get their karma too. Because especially if that other person was actually pure and like still like trying to move with the intentions of them like having a good heart or being genuine, and like they genuinely could not go above where the hell they were on a conscious level. They were just genuinely like stuck here. But even them being stuck here meant like, okay, I'm gonna do all the things that I feel like are right. Like I'm gonna do all the things that I only know to do because I haven't learned anything else, So if the person that is unaware is still moving from like the purity of their heart, then the person that is taking advantage of that is going to suffer the consequences to however much they try to inflict harm, or how bad like you were taking advantage of the person that may have been on a lower conscious level of you, but like still pure-hearted. Okay, the other side of taking advantage of the person that knows less in the dynamic, to where you're supposed to be helping assist them and attune them to reach like a better harmony within themselves, is you help them by not forming romantic and sexual bonds and giving suggestions for their improvement. So instead of you like pursuing them and be lusting after them or whatever, you actually like, I mean, of course you might still be attracted to them, but you're not going to straight up like just go after that. But of course that takes a certain amount of discipline and experience that you might have to already have to be able to like control that and like stay in the right heart space to actually like want to help somebody. Okay, so that is like more advanced considering the state of like human nature and humanity right now, or like, you know, some men and some women. So this side is a little bit more advanced, and it takes like a maturity for you to even be able to think like, okay, instead of me actually like wanting them for my own like personal reasons, or me romanticizing like what a relationship like would be like with them, I can take this step first before even like thinking about them in that way. Ways in which you can help them without you actually being like a freaking servant. like because when you say help, it's like, what do you mean help them? Like, how am I supposed to help them? Like, do you mean like be there hand and foot, like, and just play doctor? Like, no, not like that. But like within y'all choosing to share space together, it's still authentic, but you still kind of like keep a healthy distance or whatever. So I'm about to like go over some ways in which what help can look like. All right. So being honest with them. Being honest with them. Okay. And you're able to be honest with them after you get to a point where they have shown you a certain amount of things about them, and then you can finally like kind of make your observation and be like, you know what, like I want to be honest with you because I feel like you do this a lot, and it might be better if you do less of that or and more of this. So if you're the more conscious one in the dynamic, then you have to lead with intention, the intention to understand them by observing their behavior without critical judgment, critical, really harsh judgment. Like you have to kind of like observe them, and then, you know, you can kind of like follow up with some genuine, intuitive questions. You know what I mean? And that kind of helps you like stay on an honest track. When I say be honest with them, like that helps you stay, you know, kind of like on track with talking to them and having like a meaningful dialogue with them. Show consideration and care without trying to change them. Don't try to change people, but still show consideration and care. Not wanting anything from them. Not wanting anything from them is actually the one of the best things that you could really like practice with people that you might think could be a potential suitor. Like, first, don't even think of them as a potential suitor. Just think of them as a person. Just be like, okay, like I know this person. I genuinely know this guy or this girl. Okay? Now, if there's an attraction between y'all, then there's an attraction between y'all. But not wanting anything from them is going to help you kind of like have a healthy attachment to them, because you understand that people are going to come and go, and people are going to do what they want. And I think that by you like choosing to give and not expect things in return, or when you receive things, you don't feel obligated to, you know, do certain things or whatever. It kind of like just has like this genuine undertone that you want to keep going on and on and on, and not just like expecting the world to just like bend to your will every time, because you're not expecting the world to bend to your will, but expecting them to, because you're always expecting for them to kind of like do something for you. So kind of like give without wanting anything from them, and you'll be good. You have to engage in authentic conversations to gain sight of their past and how they might be hurt. Conversation with people, specifically people that you're dating for the first time in the early stage, is so important, because if you really listen to what they focus on, and you listen to what they don't focus on, like, people are constantly telling you, like, without telling you, like, what is important to them and what's not important to them. And the more you and guys engage in like a more like genuine, authentic conversation, like, it doesn't have to be like this whole like psychology session. It doesn't have to start that way, but everything is that low key with me. When I get to talking to people, if I was interested in you, like, now I have to like think about what your trauma might actually be, like what you might actually come here with, because everyone has actually been hurt. Everyone has experiences that have been traumatic. So if you gauge and listen a little bit more in the conversations that y'all have, or what their desires are, or what they chose to do in their career, or what honestly, anything that they talk about that they're passionate about, or even if they're not passionate about, like, they bring it up and they kind of like think negatively about it, like, you have to use that as information to kind of put two and two together, or pick pieces up, or probe more about it, so that way you can understand like who they are and what they've actually gone through. Of course, it's still their responsibility to heal themselves, like, and not like blame people for their disposition. But if you're trying to genuinely get to know somebody, then I feel like this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you're supposed to be listening, Now, I feel like it's important for people to also be receptive to you. So, like, if you are in that type of conversation, and then, like, they might just be talking about, like, their childhood or something, or the issues that they had with their childhood, parents, etc., like that. And you might want to, talk a little bit more about it, but not to just be like annoying about it or just try to be messy, but genuinely try to understand like what their upbringing might have looked like. Then it does help for them to be ready to like open up more. So you can't do it like too soon, but I feel like you should at some point care enough to like hear about these things, to help you better understand who you're dealing with and what they might be dealing with as well. But either way it goes, without you completely knowing that information, their behavior and what they choose to do, and by you observing that and how they also treat you or communicate, is going to help you understand what they're lacking in the person that is less aware. Or even if y'all are both on the same damn level, it's like you'll be able to see hopefully it makes sense, but you'll be able to see what that person is missing, or what they might need more improvement in. Other ways to help them. Oh yeah, and then just as far as like the conversation goes, kind of that conversation, like, not even just the conversation about their past, but like having more realistic conversations in general, and not just only want to talk about like, basic shit, surface level shit, even though like I still like talking about surface level stuff. Like, force them to raise their method of thinking, like their mode of thinking. Like, genuinely, like, don't be a fucking like interviewer, because that, don't nobody like that. But still, at some point, someone says something that might be like what does that actually mean when they say that? Be like, so can you, like, better elaborate on what you mean by that or whatever, So to force them to like talk more about whatever it is. Here's a good one for the like both parties, which is pay attention to how they make you feel, good or bad, and what emotions come up to surface for you whenever you start interacting with them. How do they make you feel? Another way to help them is, or these are just some things to remember as well, but sometimes you have to completely leave them alone and allow for them to go through their natural process, for them to actually, cultivate and get to their own understanding and like self-correction and like harmony within themselves, so that they can like advance a little bit more. My leg is falling asleep. Gosh. Anyway, helping them does not have to be like them, you holding their fucking hand, yo. Like, helping them is just like not taking advantage of them. Helping them is like genuinely trying to understand them, and so now we can talk about the gray area between taking advantage of them and like trying to genuinely love them. So the gray area is a really important area, because this is kind of like what I feel like a lot of people go through. Why am I laughing about this? I don't know. Maybe it's not a lot of people. Maybe it's just people that I know. I don't know. But I did this. I went through this. I think I've been this too, but I don't know. I wasn't trying to be this. So the gray area between taking advantage of the individual and the little other one that I just said is being their villain. But you're not just their villain. You are the conscious villain. You are the conscious villain. The conscious villain, because you're conscious that you're supposed to be helping them. Maybe you're not even conscious of it. So maybe I cannot call it the conscious villain, but right now I'm going to call it the conscious villain. You are the conscious villain. Okay? So what does this look like for the person with the lower consciousness than you, that you are attracted to, whatever, and you kind of, maybe they're your boo thing, maybe they might not be your boo thing, but you care about them, you know what I mean? With the intent to help them, you end up triggering them only to force them to face whatever they're running from or they are afraid of, and you're making them uncomfortable. So it's still out of love. Now, by you triggering them and making them face themselves and like making them uncomfortable, because not even just through like conversation, but through like just being around them, what type of stuff they are doing and what type of stuff they need to stop doing. You will end up kind of like being that villain for them, whatever that might look like, that would help assist and attune them into better communication, higher self-esteem, more self-worth. That could look like anything, and a lot of times it looks like abuse. Like, it's the fucking abuse. Like, we call it abuse, and I'm not saying that it's not abuse. Things can go a little overboard, more into like real domestic violence and stuff like that. But that's what we're gonna try to avoid. Like, don't put your hands on people, don't verbally abuse them, don't emotionally abuse them, don't do these things. But a lot of times it ends up happening, and then we are mad. We're like, oh my God, like, this person ended up doing all these things to me, but I actually came out stronger with more self worth, self worth, confidence, self esteem, better communication, emotional intelligence. Like, you actually like learned from it. And I'm not saying that it was gonna be pretty, but if you're the conscious villain, you can assist someone in these things without you really inflicting harm on them. Some people might be a little too sensitive. I can't just say that. I can't just say people might be too sensitive, because I know that I was super sensitive. But it was for a good reason. Like, it wasn't just like, oh my gosh, like I can't take this. It was like, I don't like how this person is doing what they're doing, and it is bothering me, and it is triggering me, but it is helping me. In the long run, it helped me because I actually got it. Okay, so I was about to say unconscious. There is an unconscious villain, but this is for a situation in which you are conscious of the fact that you're playing a role in someone's life to help them and not inflict harm. Okay, so some things to remember when in this, what can I call this? It's like you're on duty. It's like you got an assignment. These are the assignments, yo. These are the assignments of life, okay? And anyway, so don't allow yourself to be in a compromised position that puts your life at risk and goes against your personal morals and stuff like that. Like, don't try to, like, see this sort of like potential in this relationship or dynamic with this person to the point where you are compromising how you feel about yourself, what your values are, your life, and stuff like that. Like, you need to know when to also walk away and like let people just kind of like learn on their own. Okay, this is not one of those like I need to like be all up in your everyday mix and whatever. It's just, these are like subtle ways in which someone probably could use a little extra boost without you having to really do too much. Don't feed your delusions and keep healthy space between the both of you. And because at some point they may not be in your life. This could be a very temporary thing. This might not be permanent. So you shouldn't make like this is supposed to be before y'all start getting into all that bondage. Why I call it bondage? The bond of like sex in relationships, because we all know that that's really, it's fun. It's fun on that side. It's fun, but it's like, once you go there, sometimes you can't go back, and it gets dangerous when y'all don't really understand who the hell y'all are or who you're dealing with. Don't do no harm, but take no shit. Okay, so if you're the conscious one, do no harm, but take no shit. Okay, so sometimes that might look like, hey, like, I feel like this is not cool, so I might have to walk away from this, or I'm not gonna, fuck you up like this. Like, I'm not about to completely like do and go off my hinge or whatever, but I'm also not about to like allow you to do certain things to me either, or try to play me in this way either. Like, don't allow them to get away with certain things that you know need to be called out. Okay. And that's a good one too, like just knowing how to be assertive and bring things to the forefront that is an issue, that you feel like is an issue between y'all or with them, because it's not just like a one-sided thing. This is just from the perspective of someone being a little bit more conscious, but ultimately, like, it serves its purpose between the both of y'all. Like, y'all both end up being advancing or like growing. I keep saying advancing, but y'all both should end up growing, not just one person. But like I said, one person might grow a little bit more than the other, depending on how much they needed to grow. Love them without this huge attachment and this possessiveness. Get rid of the idea of like, yeah, like I want this and I want that with them, and all this stuff. Like, just literally see them for who they are. Don't try to create this false image in your mind because that's what you want. Don't do that. Just love them from a distance. Like, you can still enjoy them, but don't do that. And honestly, another this kind of like carries onto it, like love them like they were their child self. Like when you talk to them, like you have to damn near like, I don't want to say treat them like a child, because that's kind of like, should you even really be talking to them? Because I know that I don't want to have to treat anyone like a child. But when things come up that bother you between y'all's dynamic, or that you notice about them that you might want to confront or talk about, kind of like approach it as if you were talking to a child, in that you don't want to hurt that child's feelings, because you know that pretty much all of us are kind of just our own, our inner child is in us all the time, and you're just looking at who we are as an adult, who we grew up as. But like, I feel like like in the future, if I'm talking to someone, if I'm a little bothered or whatever, and I want to get my point across, I can actually try to like better communicate this. Also thinking like, what would I tell you if you were like your child self right now? Like, how would I communicate that? Now, nobody's perfect. Like I said, these things, the shit might not even go that way. Like, this is just like best case scenarios, I guess. Like, people are going to respond how they want, react how they want. When people are triggered, they're going to be triggered. They might not fuck with you afterwards. Like, you have to be prepared for that. But the purpose is like helping people, or allowing yourself to be helped as well. And it's not going to be pretty. Like, I don't even think any of this is pretty. And if it is pretty, it's because one or both people were real enough to like allow themselves to get triggered and faced and dragged to the point where they're like, okay, I see what my issues are. Like, I see improvements. I see where I need to improve more in. So, that's a good case scenario. A worst case scenario is like someone being very combative and hard-headed and not wanting to listen, and just kind of like running away and escaping and whatever. Anywho, so by doing this, on the grander scheme of things, this is what's actually happening. Okay, so by two people crossing paths and both people being the catalyst for one another to for both people to grow or whatever. Um, and if you're choosing to not inflict harm, meaning like you're not trying to take advantage of them, and you're genuinely trying to help them with like the best way you can without you like compromising yourself, draining yourself of your energy and stuff like that, and you're like genuinely like trying to love them in your own way that's tailored to you, you know what I mean, through like the right heart space, then what's gonna happen is, all right, so you're creating for yourself quality life that's sustained by truth, pure love, and authenticity, and a certain protection that you have, because you know that in this input output method of you like putting in care to someone that is also a reflection of you, like you are still helping like this person, you're also helping yourself, and naturally like the collective, you're assisting your fellow person, which is the person that you cross paths with, on their journey back to their natural self and like their ability to have self-love within them as well, and into the larger collective network in humanity. You're kind of like bringing love frequency higher because you help somebody else, so it'll kind of like raise like the frequency of love. I feel like that exists amongst us. That's what I think. I think by us, once again, do no harm but take no shit, and you know still be able to like choose love as like the option versus you know just genuinely trying to like enforce pain on somebody because you may not like who they are or whatever. You choose love, but love does not look like, you know, you choosing love, like you being genuine, that might look different from the next person. That like your unique way of you giving out genuine love can look different from someone else's unique way of giving out genuine love, okay? But all in all, its principles are like truth and honesty and authenticity. So if you're choosing to resonate there, and the people that you cross paths with, you're choosing to give them that, then you are helping them, you're helping yourself, and because you're gonna keep attracting like good, you're gonna keep attracting good experiences because you're actually like doing God's work. Like that's God's work right there. But you fumble when you take advantage of that person. You fumble when you don't tell that person like the multiple ways or do the multiple things, that the options that you have to actually like help assist them to attune what could actually be working for them, helping them. um yeah, hopefully that makes sense. um yeah, you're doing God's work, because all in all the goal is more inner harmony, people being able to sit with themselves, people being able to be more in solitude, people being able to like love themselves more. And if you love yourself, when you interact with people that you cross paths with, that you find yourself attracted to, you should hope that they want to love themselves too. There's a good chance that they don't love themselves, so you might have to help them figure out how to do that. And like I said, it might not always be through the side that's like so genuine and pure. It might be through the side that's not so genuine and pure. But either way, by you being that villain, hopefully a conscious villain, not an unconscious villain where you just wreaking havoc, okay? You just, by you being the conscious villain, then, you know, you can kind of like probe and trigger and do what you need to help that person grow if they choose to grow. Now, the growth is not gonna happen overnight, but if they get it, then they're gonna get it. and slowly and surely they'll raise themselves up. And, you know, now you have a flower over here, and this flower is gonna create more flowers, hopefully. Hopefully. I know I'm a flower, so I'm only ever, wanting my flowers to be flowers. I'm trying to create more flowers, so I don't know about you, but I'm trying to make some more flowers out here. I don't know. I don't want no weeds. I want flowers. I want flowers out here. So, yeah. Thanks for staying to the end. If you stay to the end of this, I appreciate that. Um, Plan to be back more with some cool insights or intel or whatever have you. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Peace out.